I feel as if I sort of ought to put a little disclaimer on this show myself. I don't know whether I do, but I also should put a little disclaimer on the disclaimer, because I'm going to talk in the disclaimer about something which you shouldn't probably talk about in a chapel. So that's the disclaimer for the disclaimer. And the disclaimer is the thing I want to talk about is vomit, which is, definitely not something you should talk about in a chapel. I woke up, my alarm woke me up at 5 a.m. this morning in Spain, which is 4 a.m. here. And I had to go downstairs and get in a taxi, and I got in a taxi, and the second that I got in the taxi at 5 a.m. Spain, 4 a.m. here, I realised I was going to vomit. You know, when you realise you're going to vomit, and you can't vomit in a taxi. It's a real faux pas. Taxi drivers really don't approve. They're not sympathetic. And so I was doing that thing where you convince yourself not to vomit. And I managed to convince myself not to vomit for the duration of the taxi ride. But then the second that I arrived at the airport, I vomited in an ashtray. So the first place that I vomited... Did it come on your nose? No, I tend to use my mouth myself. I don't know about you. I'm a mouth vomiter, always have been. So yeah, I vomited out of my mouth. Didn't realise I'd have to include that detail in the story. I vomited out of my mouth into an ashtray at the airport. That was the first place I vomited. Shortly afterwards, I vomited in a bathroom. I then vomited on a plane. My first plane was from Santander in Spain to Madrid. I vomited several times on that plane. The woman sitting next to me asked to be reseated. She wasn't a sympathetic woman, and so I vomited several times on that plane, and then I got off that plane, and then I was in Madrid making my connection, and I vomited several times in Madrid as well, and then the next place I vomited, so far I've vomited, at an airport and on a plane. The next place I vomited was in a coach. I vomited in a coach, taking me to my terminal. I then collapsed. This is a true story. I collapsed on the floor in the terminal in Madrid airport, surrounded by people. I collapsed on the floor and vomited repeatedly into a bag. So that was the next place I vomited, a plastic bag, which an airline stewardess had kindly given me because she'd noticed that I couldn't stop vomiting. So I vomited there. For about 5 minutes I vomited there. And I wanted to say a little something about that particular period of vomiting, because I was surrounded by people, and not one person tapped me on the shoulder and asked me if I was okay. So I would like if there's only one thing you take away from this show, and indeed my entire musical career, I'd like it to be that if you see someone, a handsome young man perhaps, collapsed in an airport, vomiting repeatedly into a bag, tap him on the shoulder, see if he needs some water or something like that. That's the message I'd like to give you. You can take that away and, think about it. And then I went to get my next plane, and they had to put me in a wheelchair, actually. The next thing that happened, because I was too dizzy, I couldn't walk anymore, because I vomited repeatedly. And they put me in a wheelchair, which is quite good, because you get wheeled right through the airport and straight through security and past all the queues and everything. But also slightly embarrassing because then at the end of that you get put next to a bunch of sort of properly disabled people who actually are always in wheelchairs, and you're just like a bit sick. It's a bit confusing, and you don't know what to do when it does come to the point where you have to stand and get into your seat. And I got some funny looks at that point, because all I really had going for me was that I looked slightly pale, and you know.
Play a song, Dave!
I'm getting to the song! I'm getting to the song! Jesus, the lack of sympathy in that.
Off the back! Sorry about it!
No, but I'm just...
Are you alright?
My disclaimer is I'm a bit poorly, basically. That's my disclaimer. So I'll do my best. I'm going to do my best for you all, but I am a little bit poorly.